Shalom, Israel, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. This is going to be a real short video through the Spirit. I'm basically finna, get this video going because, we in the book of Romans. Christians love running to the book of Romans. They love running, they're like one of their favorite books. It's the book of Romans. And they love coming to this verse because they think that it's talking about the other nations. They think that it's talking about the heathens. But you're going to come to realize that Paul is talking to, Israelites, Hellenistic Israelites, Hellenistic Jews. I'm gonna show you that. Paul wasn't sent for the other nations, man. When you see Gentiles, you got to understand, it's two type of Gentiles in the scriptures. You have bloodline Gentiles, that are the other nations, that's Gentiles by blood, and you have Israelites that were called Gentiles because they're in the Gentile state of mind. The Lord cut them off, because they was in wickedness. And you'll understand that when you read the Old Testament, when you get into 2 Chronicles and 1 Kings. I think 2 Chronicles chapter 10 and then 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 30, going into how the kingdom split, how the northern kingdom and southern kingdom split. In the northern kingdom, the Lord gave them over to their wickedness, And I'm going to show you that Paul wasn't dealing with the other nations, man. He's talking to our people. So this Romans 9:25-26, as he saith also in OC. So now you got to figure out who is OC. So once you figure out who OC is and what book is he talking about, the book of OC, you got to get into the book of OC to find what Paul talking about, because he said as it said the OC. So he's quoting something from the book of OC. It's Hosea. OC is Hosea. So now when you go back, say like, oh, okay, now he's talking about the book of Hosea. He's talking about something that's in the book of Hosea. So as he said also in OC, which is the book of Hosea, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not my beloved. So people will read this and be like, see, he's talking about the other nations. He's talking about the other nations because they not his people. So now the Lord's calling them to finally say they his people now. No, they don't say that. They don't say that nowhere in the book of Hosea. I'm finna show you what it do say in the book of Hosea that Paul was quoting from. He said, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not my beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God. So now we finna see what the book of Hosea say. And what people was Hosea talking about when he said this, that Paul is quoting from. Let's see. Let's go to Hosea 1:10, because Hosea 1:10 is what Paul was saying. And he wasn't talking to other nations. Hosea 1:10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, you are the sons of the living God. But who he's talking to? Yet the number of the children of Israel. So he's talking about the children of Israel. Because it was a time where, the Lord wasn't dealing with northern kingdom because they was into idolatry. You can read that like in the book of Hosea. It gets into it. They was going off, bro. Ephraim was going slap off. And the Lord like, you know what? Y'all do y'all thing. They start dibbling and dabbling with the Gentiles, and the Lord was looking at it. The Lord was looking at them, as not his people. That's why it said, it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. So now when you read when you read that and get understanding that, Romans 11:23, it make more sense. Because people think Romans 11:23 is talking about the other nations as well, which is not the case. Romans 11:23. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. So they read that and be like, see, the other nations gonna be grafted in. We're gonna be grafted into the fold, to the covenant. But keep reading. Let's see who he's talking to. For God is able to graft them in again. Key word, again. So if you're gonna be grafted in something again, that meaning you was already in it. The other nations were never in it. In the first place, to be grafted in again. They was never part of it. So when it says they shall be grafted in again, who is not talking about the other nations, talking about northern kingdom. Because the kingdom split. That's why you got to get into the Old Testament and get into your history. You got to get into the history before you get into Paul's letters. Because Paul is talking to the, you know what I'm saying, our people, because when the kingdom split, that's when everything started going downhill. So it said, for God is able to graft them in again. Meaning they're going to be back into it. Back into the covenant. Back into the promises. They're going to be grafted back in again because it was a time that they scattered away from it. They started doing their own thing. So the Lord is giving them an opportunity to be grafted back in again. Now, he's not talking to the other nations. He's not talking to the other nations. Paul's letters don't have nothing to do with them. When you get into context and read, it makes sense. Now, get this. Now, I'm gonna show you another reason how we know that Paul wasn't dealing with these other nations. He wasn't writing to the Gentiles of the other nations. Let me show you how. Just by this verse right here, it tells you. Acts 24:14. But this I confess unto thee, that after the way which they call heresy, so worship I the God of my fathers, believing all things. It didn't say some things. Paul believed all things which are written in the law. So he believed the law. He believed the law. He kept the law. For the people that say Paul didn't keep the law, he kept the law. And in the prophets. So Paul, guess what? Paul believed in what the prophets were speaking about. He believed what was said in Isaiah chapter 60, Isaiah chapter 14 and 1 verse 2, Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 21. He believed in what it was saying about how the other nations were going to serve us. He believed in what John said. What was said in Revelation 13 and 9 through 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He believed in that, man. He believed in what Matthew 15 and 24, when Christ said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Matthew 10 and 5, go not into the way of the Gentiles. It said he believed all things that are written in the law and in the prophets. He believed the judgment that was coming to the other nations. So why would he turn around and, you know what I'm saying, and write to them? It don't make sense. He would agree with what the prophets were saying. And you get into the prophecies of what the prophets were saying. It's basically going into the what's going to happen. You know, prophecy that Israel is going to be was going to be ruling the other nations. He believed what it said in Revelation. When the kingdom of heaven got 12 gates. For the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. He believed in that. He didn't believe they had one gate. He didn't believe that everybody. He said he believed all things. So if you see something that, if you disagree with what a prophet's saying when you read in the book of Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, if you disagree with what they saying, just know that Paul agreed with everything they said. So guess what? Paul wasn't trying to say no heathen, because the prophets weren't trying to say no heathen. Hey, when that Canaanite woman came up, the Yahushua, the prophet said he sent her away, man. Send her away. That's the type of time Paul was on, that same type of time. So once you realize that, you'll realize that, Paul wasn't writing this letter to the other nations. He was writing this letter to us. He believed what Ezra said in first and second Ezra. Second Ezra 54 through 58. How the other nations are like spittle. He believed in that. It said he believed all things in the prophets. He believed when it said Israel. Let me get the precept. He believed in what Ezra said in second Ezra chapter 3 and verse 32 to 36. Let me get it. He believed in all this. He believed in what the prophets were speaking on. Or if there be any other people that knoweth thee besides Israel, it ain't no other people that know the Lord besides Israel. And Paul believed this. Or what generation has so believed thy covenant as Jacob? And yet their reward appeareth not, and their labor hath no fruit. For I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I see that they flow in wealth, and they think not upon thy commandments. They don't think about the Lord's commandments. First and foremost, it wasn't given to them. They got money. They ain't thinking about the Lord's commandments. They got their own guys. They got the Baphomet, you know what I'm saying? They got Molech. They got their own guys. They don't care about the Most High God and His commandments. Weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and there also that do of the world. And so shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. And so shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. Or when with it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight, or what people have so kept thy commandments, so shall thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. So the heathen not keeping the precepts. The heathen can care less about the commandments of the Lord. They prosper here. That's why we're gonna have to rule them with a rod of iron in captivity. That's why. Because they're not gonna want to do it. A lot of them not gonna want to keep the commandments because they never it's not in their spirit to. But the Bible said, thou shalt find that Israel by name have kept the commandments, but not the heathen. So Paul agreed with that. Paul already knew how it got down, right? So just a quick video to show you, you know what I'm saying, Romans 9:25-26. What Paul was quoting was from Hosea. Hosea 1:10. And Hosea was talking to the Israelites. So Paul was writing to the Israelites. I mean, let me show you another way how we know Paul was writing to the Israelites. Let's go to Romans again. Romans 1:7. Let's see. Let's see who this letter directed to. Romans 1:7. To all that be in Rome, because we know that Israel is scattered. James 1:1. We are scattered. To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Yahushua. Now, who the people that's called to be saints? Because this is stuff that you got to recognize and realize to understand who he's writing his letter to. Let's see who the people that's called to be saints. Psalms chapter 50 and verse 5. Everybody not a saint. Everybody is not called to be saints. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. So the saints are the people that made a covenant with the Most High God by sacrifice. Now, who the only people that made a covenant with the Most High God by sacrifice? Who the only people that done that? Let's see. Let's see. Romans 9:3-4. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoptions and the glories and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises. So we believe we received all of this. So when you go to Romans 1:7, that tells you off rip who's Paul directing this whole Romans to, which are Israelites that are in Rome. Because remember, we are scattered. James 1:1, the scripture say that's a curse. When you get to the book of Deuteronomy 28 and verse 64, he said he was going to scatter us. Let's get it. He said that he's going to scatter us. So Paul is writing these letters to our people that scattered among the heathen. I said Romans. Deuteronomy 28 and 64. And the Lord shall scatter you. Now we're talking about the Israelites. The Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy father have known, even wood and stone. So it said the point is that we're going to be scattered among all the people. And that's what's going on. That's what's going on now. We scattered among all these different nations. So Paul was writing his letter directed to Israelites in Rome, not all the Romans. He wasn't writing to all the Romans in Rome. He writing to the Israelites that are in Rome. The letter wasn't directed to everybody that's in Rome. He wasn't talking to the other nations. He's talking to the Israelites that were in Rome, that was living in Rome, that was living like the Romans. Think about it. Paul was a Roman citizen, but was Paul really a Roman? We know he was an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. He was an Israelite. Paul was an Israelite, but he was called a Roman citizen. He was a Roman citizen because he lived in Rome. So that show you out there that you have Israelites, you know what I'm saying, that stay in these other places, right? So this is my video, man. I didn't want to make it too long. I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem HaShai, just to show you, man, that Paul's letters are directed to Hellenistic Jews, man, that don't know themselves, that lost their lost their track with the Most High God, that was doing all these other things that the heathen doing. It ain't no difference from our people celebrating Christmas, because our people are in a Gentile state of mind. You actually have our people in these fraternities and sororities call themselves Greeks, but they not really Greeks though. That's a perfect example. They're not really Greeks. Why they call themselves Greeks? They really Israelites though. That's what was going on back then. You had that people calling themselves Romans, calling themselves Greeks, but in reality, they Israelites. And that was Paul trying to get them to understand. So he writing to our people that celebrating Christmas, that celebrating Easter, that celebrating Thanksgiving. Those were the people that Paul was directing his letter to, of our people though, not the other nations, because we follow their customs. They came up with Christmas. They came up with Thanksgiving. But Jeremiah 10:2 tell you don't learn the way of the heathen. So our people started learning the way of the heathen. So Paul's job was to correct our people and tell them, hey, get them their mind back on track and let them know they not the Greeks. Y'all are Israelites. Y'all got to come back and keep the commandments of the Lord. That's what Paul was letting our people know. So with that, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. I say Shalom, Kun Yasharallah.